week.
Finish your thought there, Alex.
Oh, I was just saying I saw that they like changed it to 25% for quarterfinals, and I was like, my first thought was like, oh, that's for the money, I'm sure, but I'm sure a lot of people will be excited to do quarterfinals if they haven't got to yet.
You're not worried that with the 15% additional that someone's going to sneak in there and take your spot?
If they do, then
that's off to them.
Yeah.
Can you even wear a hat when your hair's like that?
It doesn't look very good. It goes down and then the hair goes out.
Just finished a workout?
Yeah, I was on the bike.
Little C2 bike at home?
Echo bike, but yes.
Ooh. Are you preferential to one or the other?
I actually like the Echo bike better. I'm not as good on the C2 as I would like to be. Like, I feel like for my size, like being like heavier, I feel like I should be better, and I'm not. So working on it.
I think when I think of Echo bike, I think of pain. When I think of C2 bike, I think of I have the option here to get some more of a relaxed stimulus out of it.
I disagree. I feel like I've figured out how to manage the Echo bike. Like, I can use my arms a lot more and I can like breathe through it. But like the C2 bike, it's like a choice of pain. Like, you have to choose to hurt, and like, oh yeah, I don't like it.
Today.
Oh, my Nelly sweatshirt. Hell yeah, Alex. Name your favorite Nelly song.
I know who Nelly is, but I don't know the name of the song.
I know. I think Nelly, with your generation, I mean, being you're 22 now, I think you could name a song, but if you heard it, you'd be like, oh, that's a Nelly song type of thing.
Yeah. Isn't Grills one of his songs?
No, Hot in
Here?
Yeah. Who's that?
It is a song.
Oh, yeah. Grills.
Yeah.
I just looked up best Nelly songs because I like Alex. I can think of like I can like there's songs that come to mind, but I'm not confident in the name of them necessarily. But I would probably say Country Grammar or Ride With Me are like the two that take me way back to like middle school, high school.
Yeah.
Patrick was already an adult, a fully functioning adult at that point.
Yeah, I was buying people like you alcohol at the Quick Trip.
That's hilarious.
Just kidding. No,
I have memories of like riding around in friends' parents' cars, and they were like, those songs would come on and they'd blast the music, and even the adults would be singing those songs. So super, super popular stuff back then.
Yeah, I saw him before. He was part of a group called the St. Lunatics. STL Lunatics. And I saw him at a place in East St. Louis, a club called Club Casino, RIP Club Casino. But it was interesting. And then when he blew up like 3 years later, it was awesome. I was like, just you repping your hometown, so it's good.
What year was that Club Casino concert?
That was 1993, 94. I saw Tupac there. In 92, wow. I saw Tupac at Club Casino.
Honestly, that's pretty cool. Like, I'm a big Dave Matthews fan, and once in a while I'll run into someone at either concerts or when I'm talking about it that was like in Charlottesville, Virginia before they were a Dave Matthews band. And it's always cool when you meet people that were like part of experiencing these artists that became massive and global before they were known anywhere else. Alex, you got any famous artists from where you grew up?
Not really. I feel like Oregon, small town. Not really. There's a guy that went to the Olympics from my high school. That was cool.
For what?
Snowboarding.
Really? What's his name?
Sean Fitzsimons.
Not Shaun White. Okay.
No, but
I was about to say Sean. Let off with Sean. I'm like, Shaun White?
No, I don't
Shaun
know.
White. So that guy's the second most famous person. That guy's the second famous person from your hometown after you.
A lot of athletes come out of our town, which is kind of cool.
Well, of course, there was Nike's up there, and so some athletes maybe get attracted to Oregon because of that. And I think there have been some good runners that have come out of Oregon as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! Finally, we got a fan for Patrick.
Yes,
go.
I got one. Yep, that's awesome. I'm gonna have one more follow. That guy probably doesn't have Instagram, so it doesn't even. Thanks, CJ.
So we asked Alex to be on this show, I don't know, a week or 10 days ago, shortly after Rogue, and we'll talk about some of that stuff. But we also have a kind of a cool thing that she was willing to do that we're going to introduce, opportunity for you guys to win something potentially. So we'll talk about that as well. But we didn't know that there was going to be these new kind of season announcements. CrossFit is slowly trickling out certain things. So a month or so ago, they announced that for the elite divisions, there'd be a CrossFit Games in Fort Worth. Actually, at that time, we didn't know what divisions they would be for. A couple of weeks go by, they announced that there would be different CrossFit Games hosts for different divisions: Masters, Teenage, Adaptive. And today, 40 minutes ago, they announced, they sent out an email. I'm not sure to whom all the email went. News outlets like B.Friendly Fitness, Barbell Spin, and several others, I'm sure, had opportunity to produce some content ahead of time. So those things are out there if you want to check them out. And Chase Ingram hosted Adrian Bosman on a CrossFit Games podcast where they talked about some of these announcements, which I was in the middle of watching to stop to come and do this. But all of that's getting it from the source. CrossFit, I would ask her a couple things. We can talk a little about the changes, but as I was listening to Adrian Bosman and Chase Ingram talk, one of the things that Adrian said was, we've tried to simplify some things so that basically, if you're trying to understand the season, this year the Open is taking place in March. It technically starts on the leap day on the February 29th, which is kind of fun, but otherwise it's in March. The quarterfinals are in April. And then we know that for the semifinals are in May for the online divisions that have semifinals. We still don't have dates for the live semifinals, but we can assume they're going to be May, June, like they usually are, and based on the way that the rest of the schedule looks. And of course, the CrossFit Games for the elite divisions is in August. But Alex, when you're thinking about the next 12 months for you, how much does it matter when the dates for all these in-season competitions are known in terms of conversations with your coaches, with your family, with just planning, training, and travel, and a 12-month period as a top athlete in the sport?
I would say for me, the most important dates that are nice to know in advance is semifinals, because usually that requires travel and planning for that. But as far as the Open and quarterfinals, obviously we take it seriously, but there's not as much pressure there. So, I mean, I think as long as you're doing your due diligence in the gym, all should go well on those two pieces. So honestly, it doesn't really matter. I think the Open's cool in the community aspect, but I also feel like sometimes it feels kind of redundant, for us to do.
Yeah, and we can, the Open and, well, first of all, the semifinal dates for the live semifinals are one of the two outstanding things. So if you're looking for that, they're not known yet, they're not published yet, and you're not going to find those. And the dates for the live Masters age group and teenage or adaptive and teenage divisions are also not known. So those are still the unknown things as far as timing goes. I would agree with you that the dates of semifinals are really critical for athletes, fans, judges, media, volunteers. Those are things that people want to be involved with. Boz did mention that there are reasons those are not announced yet, and that they know people want to know, and they're intending to announce them soon, but they want to be sure that what they're announcing is actually accurate and not giving people any kind of false information unintentionally. So there are reasons that they haven't announced those yet. They should hopefully, I would hope sometime in December at the very latest that those would be out. The other thing that you won't find yet is the rule book. And so for those who are looking for that, it's TBD on when that will be released, but not yet. As for the opening quarterfinals, like you said, pretty straightforward for the top athletes in the world. These are not major stresses. An interesting note, two interesting notes, is that there's a bigger gap between the open and quarterfinals this year than previous years. Quarterfinals was introduced in 2021, and we have had 2 weeks, 1 week, and 2 weeks, I think, between the opening quarterfinals previously. This week it's 4 weeks, or this year it's 4 weeks and a couple days. I don't think that really, again, and Alex, defer to you. I don't think that really impacts you guys too much. Probably all of those competitions are kind of, I would assume you're more or less going to be training kind of through those competitions instead of for those competitions.
Yeah, we usually train through, like, during the open, we'll do the open workout and then do everything else after. So, like, we still prioritize it a little bit, but, like, you still have to do your lifting, do your skill, whatever else you might have that day. I think maybe the 4 weeks will be a good opportunity for those that, like, squeak into quarterfinals and, like, can get excited, and it gives them, like, 4 weeks maybe to train. And but I think for the top 5%, top 10%, like you said, we just train through it, so it's not super.
Well, you're in like
Doesn't
the
make a
top
difference.
0.05%.
Yeah, top 5%. What?
But you're like in the top 5 actually in the world. But the but as you mentioned, for those who squeak in this year, there'll be a lot more opportunity for that. They're increasing from 10%, which you've had for 3 years, to 25%. And I think there'll be a lot of opportunity to have conversations about what that means, maybe why they made those decisions, and there'll be some other stuff. But I think for the top athletes, pretty straightforward. Open, quarters, similar time of year, and just kind of waiting on that semifinal date.
I guess, like, one thing for quarterfinals with more athletes, it'll be like a different leaderboard scenario, kind of like the open with so many more people. Like, I think doing well or doing poorly will hurt or help a lot more.
Absolutely has the potential for that. And that is a great point, because with the one other thing that we did find out about semifinals for the elite divisions, men, women, and teams, is the number of qualifying spots. And so they have announced that there will be the same 7 regions, which will be North America, East and West, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, and Oceania. And as we're going to see here, 40 men, 40 women, and 30 teams in those divisions will advance for each of those. This is an increase of representation for the 4 semifinals that had 30 qualifiers last year, of 25%, going from 30 to 40. It's a decrease of 33% for the 3 biggest and most competitive semifinals in the world, which are North America, West, East, and Europe. And that is something that, Alex, given what you said, could really make an impact on who makes it to that next stage.
Yeah, I mean, for me, at semifinals last year with I think, did we have 60?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so with 60, like, I had a couple shit the bed moments, but because there were so many athletes and I had a couple home run events, I was able to make up that difference. Like, if you could do well in a few events, you essentially were able to, like, secure enough points to be safe. But with less athletes, like, you don't really have as much luxury of, like, slip ups, because it's more just, like, tight. Like, everyone's closer. There's not so many, like, ups and downs.
Yeah, and it makes me think,
like a middle of the pack workout with 60 people could end up being a bottom third with 40, essentially.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about kind of two aspects of that. We did a study last year that talked about that there were a lot of people qualifying for quarterfinals that really couldn't do the workouts because of they weren't strong enough, or they didn't have a skill, and it wasn't the barrier for entry from open to quarterfinals wasn't precluding for that. Yeah, that's a great question, and unknown.
We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll talk about that, Dave.
But the other thing is that there were some things introduced at the quarterfinals last year that were brand new in terms of the crossover single under and the V-up specifically, where it wasn't necessarily a fitness thing. I mean, some people would say learning the skill is a fitness thing, or executing to the standard of the movement is a fitness thing. But there were some people that I think took some hits in terms of either not having the skill of the single under or not executing the V-up appropriately. And I think the wording of the standard was a little confusing and left some room for interpretation. Then those are the things that have the potential to potentially make a big impact with the variable setup that that we see now.
Yeah, and with that leaderboard, like, are they going to look at everybody's videos? Because that's a lot more people to like make sure are doing things right. So if you have 30 or 40 extra people whose videos may not be correct, but they weren't seen, like that skews the leaderboard big time.
Yeah, and I would say that that remains to be kind of an unknown of if this CrossFit Games team is really considering, with the programming, with the distribution of these parts of the seasons, if they're making it easier on themselves, which is what I think that they need to do to evaluate that stage of competition. The barrier to entry is much lower. The number of participants is potentially much higher, but the qualifying spots are fewer, meaning that the premium on getting that stage of the competition right is higher. And as expected, there's a few athletes that wouldn't have made the top 40 last year. Mike Halpin has already crunched the numbers for us. So Bethany Flores, 15th at the games, would not have been at semifinals last year. Rebecca Vidison qualified for the CrossFit Games for the first time out of Europe, would not have made the European semifinal last year. And Yella Hoste, who was top 10 at the games, the highest placing rookie, winner of multiple events at semifinals, and also had a great showing at Rogue, wouldn't have had any of those opportunities in this format because he would not have been in the top 40 men after quarters in Europe last year.
Do you think, though, like, I'm going to use Bethany as an example, like she probably did the bare minimum to get in, like knowing it's higher stakes, I feel like maybe athletes like would redo workouts or like put more effort in. Whereas like if you know you're going to get in, sometimes it's not worth it to continue to redo workouts.
Absolutely. Potentially, yes. There were other athletes that still missed the semifinals last year because of penalties. Willie George, for example, and maybe a few other ones. And like I said, the V-ups were being penalized quite severely. And in those cases, we don't know. Maybe some of those athletes also did get penalties that dropped them down. But I would not say that those athletes are lacking fitness to participate, obviously, and participate well at the semifinal. And so that is one intriguing element of this change that will, people can certainly dive into more and more. And, we've got all these guys in the space now that are very, very quick and fast to, point out some of that stuff and get with the programming. Probably Chase, big fan of your hair today, Alex.
It's a hot mess right now, but thank you.
It's the norm.
It's the norm. Yeah, it's always like this.
All right. Well, unexpected that we were going to spend the first part of the conversation talking about that, but it is the news of the day for CrossFit, and we do have one of the best here. So cool to get a perspective from someone at the top of the sport. And obviously, you can pick up on those kind of things pretty quickly when you see some of those changes. We saw you, I don't know, was it less than 2 weeks ago down in Austin?
Yeah, about a week and a couple days.
Yeah, it was very interesting weather there that weekend.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
And the day afterwards, it looks like you went and got some dry needling done.
Yeah, I went to Oregon, and I have a friend there that does it, and it always feels good.
Yeah, that was what my perspective was based on your post, is that's like a type of recovery protocol that you enjoy.
Yeah, I've like noticed that dry needling, like, and acupuncture, they're both a little different, but dry needling, if you have anything irritating, like muscular, like if it's like a muscle issue or like strain or just things are irritated, like that's been like magic. Like they poke the needle in, it twitches, and then it feels so much better. Acupuncture is more like holistic. Like I've struggled really bad with like insomnia for a while and like some anxiety stuff, and that's helped so much. So just a couple things that I like.
Do you remember the first time you did dry needling?
Yeah.
What part of the body?
It was on like my forearm, like my wrist.
Ooh.
And it was bad just because I didn't know what to expect. But now like the worst ones that I've done were like the top of my shin. That was terrible. And I'd never liked the hamstrings. Those always hurt.
They do, yeah, the top of the shin, like that would be kind of like the muscle that you would feel if you had like shin splints or shin splints were coming
Yeah.
on. Yeah, small muscle in the front of the shin, and man, shin splints are terrible. I've had them once during my soccer career, and I've had several teammates that had them, and it can be like it's a really frustrating one because it
Yeah.
feels like it's like such a small nuisance, but creating a big problem.
Totally. I had them really bad in high school and then a little bit during the games. And yeah, it sucks because it feels like something you should be able to push through, but your body's just like, hey, no, like we don't want to do that.
And it's probably not the example that people think of the most, but like obviously you have a big muscle on the back of your legs, a calf, and then you have these small muscles in the front that like they don't need to be exactly equal in terms of strength, but you need to have some kind of strength in those muscles to offset what's going on the back side of the body. And so anyway, dry needling, not for everybody, but Alex Gazan is a fan.
Yeah.
And now it's been, I don't know, 7 or 10 days. How's the body feeling at this point?
Honestly, not Rogue's fault. I went into Rogue with a few things that were like irritated and essentially just hammered the nail in a little bit more. So I'm dealing with that, but like from Rogue, good. Like nothing new, nothing bad. I feel like my back actually it was sore, but everyone's like, how's your back? How's your back? But it was fine. Honestly, those kettlebells, the Hulk hands, like that event was what toasted me the most. Just having to like, because the handle was all the way in the bottom, you have to go like that extra couple inches that one hurt my back.
So I actually did a version of Hulk hands the day after I got back from Rogue. I don't have Hulk hand or those little implements that Rogue has. So I used kettlebells. And I was noticing that even especially during the back half of that workout with the clean and jerks, which, the shoulder to overhead, that bottom part getting to the floor was putting some stress on my back. And I was well aware that you guys needed to go probably 3 to 5 inches lower on every one of those reps than I needed to do with kettlebells.
Yeah. So, but honestly, like, I recovered quickly. Like nothing got hurt, which was nice. Like no, sometimes with deadlifts, like heavy deadlifts, you can like tweak something or have like irritation that lasts a while. And I feel like I came out pretty unscathed, which very thankful for that.
Well, we'll get to the deadlift in a second, but I wanted to just stick with the Hulk hands because I was doing this workout. Obviously, I'm not really in great shape compared to you and all these other problems that I have, but I really, really hit the wall on the back half of that workout with the kettlebells. And you, if I remember correctly, I might have even asked you about this, or maybe I just mentioned it on the stream because I think I was calling the action. Then you crushed the last 40 reps with those Hulk kettlebells. Like it seemed like you passed half of your heat at that time. Was that the plan from the beginning on that workout, or is that just how it ended up going?
It was. We did a kettlebell cycle before the games, Justin and I. So we would do like 5 sets of 5 kettlebell clean and jerks. It started with like the 44s, then the 53s, and then we just got to the point where I was doing like the 63s like in workouts. And I just like had to figure it out. Like it'd be like an every 3-minute interval piece, and I'd have like 6 clean and jerks, and you feel like shit, you're tired, and like you just had to figure it out. And so I feel like getting comfortable with those in the sense of like I wasn't scared anymore. Like I knew how to move them, even if it was taxing. Like I knew how to move them without freaking out. I just kind of was like, okay, like 4 sets of 5 or like 6, 5, 5, 4, whatever that is. But like you can do sets of 5. Like you've done this so many times. So my plan going into it was just like stay diligent on those, and then whatever else, like just keep moving. And I think like I knew people would go out hot just because like those elements, like they hit you really fast because it's a lot of energy per rep. And yeah, just hung on in the back half.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's basically an example of training for a stimulus that you don't necessarily know if it's going to show up or not. Obviously, we had alpaca at the games last year. And then seeing maybe in a different competition than was potentially expected, a little bit of a payoff.
Yeah. It's like that same concept of like, anything that's like crushing, and that's like what we would use. Justin would describe the kettlebells, like it just beats you up, like it like hits you, you're like trying to brace, you're fighting the kettlebells essentially. So like with the Hulk hands, it's like the same concept, like it's like hitting you, you have to press it up, obviously a little bit less like bulky than the kettlebells, but same concept.
You think you're going to get a pair of those?
I'm sure we'll end up having a pair. Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of cool.
Sorry?
I could definitely see the new gym owner investing in at least a couple sets of those.
Yeah.
At Rhino. So
Patrick, he just played a clip there from your deadlift. When you watch that back, what kind of emotions do you feel?
It was just really fun. Like I've never had that moment where it's like just you in front of a crowd. Like very rarely you get an event where it's formatted in that regard, where it's like one at a time. Yeah, it was just really exciting. It was fun.
Was it at what point in the ladder there do you think that you knew that you were going to win it?
When we hit the 400 bar.
What happened? There's still 4 women left at that point. And if you haven't watched, by the way, I wonder if there's like a faster version than like the full duration of the thing. Someone should make a post-production where you can just kind of like see every lift without all the in between. That would be kind of cool. But it's definitely worth watching. I mean, four of you hit 400-pound deadlift. Like that in and of itself was incredible.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I just feel like the rep, like my reps at 350 or 360, like they'll look the same up to like essentially like 400. And like I just felt like mine continued to feel the same, and I could kind of tell like everyone else's started to look a little different. And like I never was scared. Like I feel like sometimes in training, like you'll have a number written down and you get like nervous, like you're like, oh shit, like okay, I have to hit this number, and like it kind of feels uncomfortable and like you don't want to hurt yourself, but like each rep like never felt scary, and I just like knew I could lift it. So that was kind of my telltale sign. Like I was like, okay, I can keep going.
As the rounds go on, I mean, I think most people know you ended up deadlifting 18 bars that night. How does the kind of interaction between the group of girls as they were getting eliminated change as the bars go heavier and the number of you standing there gets less and less?
I was having a great time. We were just bullshitting. I was eating nerds. We were laughing. Like me and Danny were just talking the whole time. Laura and Tia are like, I'd say a little bit more like in the zone kind of competitors. So like there'd be a fist bump here and there, but they were relatively quiet. But Danny and I were just goofing around. It was fun.
Did you?
Yeah, I noticed Kyra snuck some nerd gummy clusters. Was that what she was feeding you?
Yeah, she was so smart. I didn't realize we were going to be out there for so long. I didn't bring anything besides water. So I was like, oh, thank the Lord. Like that was so helpful just to have something to kind of keep your brain like awake and going.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to take credit for that.
About an hour total time out there, right?
Yeah.
2 hours.
2 hours for just the girls?
Yeah, we were out there for a long time.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's
Yeah, and then we had to do like a 1.5 warm up because we warmed up and then they pulled us back for something, and then we went out there. So honestly, like I felt like I was doing that event for 3 hours. By the time like we warmed up, did it, got our stuff, I was like, I don't need to see another deadlift for like 10 years.
Yeah, I think probably top end deadlifting percentages in training is something you guys can afford to go a little light on.
Yeah. One of my training partners texted me. He's like, I hope you enjoyed it. Your percentages are about to suck. I was like, no.
I have 2 last questions about the deadlift. The first is, was there ever a change where you went from like rooting for the girls, hoping that they would hit it, to like, okay, I'm ready for you guys to stop hitting these weights now?
I think not like anyone in particular. I think we were all like, man, can we all just like be done? Like we're out here. We were all just like, okay, this is getting ridiculous, especially because they did 5-pound jumps. So it was like, we're just going to keep going. But like Danny on one of the last bars, she's like, all right, this is yours. Like, I think I'm done. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, if you don't try, like, if you don't at least go try to lift that bar, like, we're not friends. Because I don't think she was trying to give me like a, you can have it, but I was still like, no, like, if I'm going to win this, like, I want to win it fair. So no, I wanted everyone to go until they couldn't.
That's cool. And obviously, you know, Danny has some experience being the last one standing in an environment like that. She's done it at the CrossFit Games with the sandbag ladder. She did it at Rogue last year with the log. So, you know, a little bonus to be able to kind of dethrone her in a territory that she usually is the one to beat at.
Yeah, it was fun. I think too, like, because my snatch record hasn't been so great, and that's been the prominent lift, I would say, of the 2023 season. Like, we saw it in semifinals, it was at the games, and like, I don't know if it was anywhere else, but I just felt like it was everywhere.
Yes,
And
a lot of heavy snatches and a lot of ring muscle ups last year.
yeah, and so I felt like it kind of just painted this picture that I wasn't very strong. If you didn't know, because like I haven't had a chance to like do any of that in competition, and so it was kind of fun to like throw my name in the strong girl mix.
There was, as Patrick was going through some of the pictures there from that night, there was a guy in the stands that you were kissing.
Oh yeah, that's Jake.
Can he deadlift more than you?
No.
He is absolutely ripped, by the way.
Yeah, he's fit. He's working out.
I think
I told him he has to.
I think you posted a picture from recently from when you guys were first meeting, maybe like you were on a boat or something like that.
It was on my story. I don't think you'll be able to find it, but yeah, we went to the CrossFit Games together as like a little vacation, and yeah, we were young and in love.
Yeah, I think you're still young and in love.
Yeah,
But
just
I saw
young.
that picture and I was like, man, like, because how old is he?
Now he's 24.
24. So he was probably like what, 18 or something. He's 19 in that picture, and he was totally shredded. I was like, holy cow, Jake, well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, it's this is something that I've observed over the course of kind of following this sport. There are quite a few athletes who've had tremendous success in this sport that and they haven't necessarily had to worry about dating during their career because they were already with their partner. And obviously, you know, Rich Froning had his Hillary was there with him throughout, and Matt Fraser and Sammy and Tia and Shane and all these kind of people. And now there's some younger athletes that are coming. All right, that avoid Jake.
I'll try. Wait, what did he say? I'll try what?
Probably the deadlift.
Oh, to deadlift?
Or maybe to just keep working out and stay in shape. I don't know. But either way,
right,
Jake's a great guy. You know, and so I see you know, Dallin Pepper's kind of on the men's side is this young, great athlete, very similar results this year to you. And Corinne has been with him, you know, for a long time relative to how old he is. And you and Jake is the same thing. And I count that as like as a bonus or an advantage. Do you consider having someone like Jake in your corner throughout your early parts of your career to be that as well?
Oh yeah. Like, I think for me, one of the biggest things too is like being able to leave CrossFit at the gym, like come home and like remember that there's other things to life. Cause like we've seen it with Mal and Haley and probably so many others that just haven't like expressed it, but it's all consuming and it's like, it's a really hard sport. There's no clocking out. Like your rest days, you still have to be on top of your eating, on top of stretching, like sleeping. Like you can't go on a late movie date night. You can't, I mean, you can, but like there's just like a lot of things that will impact your performance and your training. And so I think like being able to come home and like we watch a funny show or just like have dinner or whatever, like knowing that I have that is super special. And he's obviously super supportive. And yeah, it's definitely, I would say it's a big advantage.
Do you think that it's like difficult or stressful for him to support you in this sport? Or maybe, I mean, I think he wants to support you no matter what, but that there are maybe elements of, like you said, it's a very demanding sport and you kind of have to be conscious of your entire lifestyle if you want to pursue the top ends of it. And that can put some stress on the partner.
It's really hard. I think like one of the hardest things is like when we met and started dating, like we just did a lot of things together all the time. Like we would do class together, we would go like camping, we would go on hikes, and like now that stuff's harder for me to just like be able to do. Like camping is like only when I don't have to train, or like if I can sleep like a princess with like a mattress or something. And that's hard. Like it's hard on him, I'm sure. Like you want to be able to bond and have things to do together. And I feel guilty about not being able to like do some of that stuff. But I think like we're gonna try to like I'm gonna save either like my accessory or like some conditioning, like something that we can do together at home, just to like have that aspect back. And then yeah, I mean, like we just kind of learn as we go, but it's like there's definitely not easy times, but there's also really rewarding times, and it's worth it.
Do you guys, I'm always just kind of curious about this stuff with couples in general, but especially in CrossFit. Do you guys like to eat the same food?
Yes and no. Like if I make something, Jake will eat it. He loves like In-N-Out. Like he'll just like go to In-N-Out and eat that all the time.
Can't blame him, really. It's pretty delicious.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part.
Does he hide that from you? He's like, I'm gonna just eat this in my car and
No.
not
Because
tempt her with it.
for him, the hardest thing, like I'd say diet wise, is just eating enough. Like he'll get really focused on like a task or work, and he'll just go all day without eating. So then he just like tries to find ways to get calories in. Whereas like me, I like eating a lot frequently, like a little bit, rest, eat a little bit, and he just kind of like calorie banks.
Well, it's actually is an interesting thing. Jake has a very similar like build than I do. Tall, skinny, naturally type of guy. Obviously, he's strong and muscular, but putting on weight and keeping it on can be very challenging for that body type. And when you get into a very stressful or busy work cycle, and I this is not ideal, and he may have a similar situation. I pretty much eat like 2 big meals a day. But for our body type, much better to eat 6 or 7 small meals more frequently during the day. But it's more difficult to manage sometimes, depending on what the work is, to do that. So Jake, I can totally resonate with that.
Yeah.
So getting back into training a little bit, Echo Bike today, nice and easy, I'm sure. And
no, I feel like I got thrown into the deep end. Okay, I like looked at my programming yesterday, and I was like, did I take a week off? Like I feel like this is right back where we left off. It was hard.
Oh well, Justin, I mean, he's got high expectations for you.
Oh my gosh, wait. Oh, I didn't see what you were pulling up. That's so fun.
This is old stuff, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that you?
Yep.
Love the headband. Is it when you trained with Reagan?
Yeah. Wait, this is funny.
Does this say it's from 266 weeks ago?
Yeah.
That's like 5 years.
Yeah, okay. I started at the end of 2017.
I noticed you jumped about 3 or 4 inches forward to receive that clean in that video. You still doing that?
Oh, no. My technique has come a long way. I mean, it still has a long way to go, but it's come a long way.
Well, I need some help with that.
Pause
still.
Deadlifts.
185.
Just land the groundwork.
That's awesome.
So you have, did you say you're in Oregon still now?
No, I'm back in Vegas. I was there for like almost a week.
And obviously the holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving, Christmas or whatever, holidays you celebrate around New Year's. Will you spend any time with family besides Jake during that time, or will you just kind of stay in Vegas for the next couple months?
Yeah, so this was kind of my trip to Oregon to see like my mom and my brother and like that family. So I probably won't go there for a while. We're actually gonna go see his mom, I think, over Thanksgiving, which I'm excited. I haven't met his mom yet. So I'm excited to meet her. And then my dad is actually in prison right now, and I'm hoping to go visit him maybe this weekend, which I'll be super excited to see him. But as far as travel, I think that's about it because I have the Fit Fest thing coming up and Wadapalooza, and I don't really want to travel like much more than that. It already feels like a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, Fit Fest is the next thing that we know about on your schedule. It's right in between those two holiday periods, obviously. And it's another thing that's like it can be a real challenge in the off season for athletes that people don't appreciate, Your families want to see you guys, right? And Thanksgiving and Christmas are natural times for that. But Rogue is a travel date. Fit Fest or Dubai, a lot of the top athletes are going to one or the other. Many athletes are also doing Wadapalooza the month after that. And so it's like at some point you got to also train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here's your team for Fit Fest. The draft happened there. Obviously, Vellner's on your team. I'm sure you're disappointed about that. How do you feel about the other 4 people on your team?
Why would I be disappointed about Vellner?
No, I'm just kidding. I like to give Pat a hard time.
That's hilarious.
But I only have one person's button on my desk, and it's Pat Vellner. So everyone knows I love Pat.
That's cute. I think we have a strong team. Like, everyone's just strong.
Very strong. I don't know if you saw the little first look breakdown that we did, but we evaluated every athlete based on a very, I wouldn't say it's crude. Many of these athletes are good at many things. But in isolation, 4 of the 6 athletes on this team excel at weightlifting relative to monostructural and gymnastics movements when they show up in competition. 2 of them happen to be amazing at deadlifting.
No.
And then obviously we have, Jack Farlow.
He won. Didn't he win the total?
Did he win it outright? I think he was in the top 3.
He won the total.
He did win it.
It just wasn't enough for him to get in to make the cut.
Yes, 701 pound total at the games with only 2 lifts allowed. Extremely impressive. So when I don't know about if you know any of this information and can't share, that's totally fine. But like, I'm super curious about the format of competition that they're going to have there. And I'm hopeful that there'll be some opportunity for people to express those like top end skills that they have.
Yeah, I have no clue. I guess we'll find out.
So I have a kind of a fun game for you here. This is
all right. Let's play.
We have games with you, Brian.
Analyze your entire CrossFit competitive career.
Wow. Okay.
And we've identified 3 movements that show up analytically as your best movements and 3 that show up as your worst historically.
Okay.
I want to see if you can guess either some of your best or some of your worst movements.
Like based on the analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm sure snatches is on the worst.
It's actually not one of the worst 3.
Oh.
But so keep in mind that sometimes, how they score is if you if there's an event that has both, like maybe it has snatch and deadlift, something you're really good and really bad at. And so you might do middle of the pack on that workout. So sometimes this
so this might be a little skewed.
It could be potentially influenced by what those movements have been paired with over time.
Then we'll go best. Rope climbs.
Also doesn't show up on the top 3.
No, I'm 0 for 2.
Legless rope climbs?
Is legless?
Does she have to be more specific?
Yeah, do I need to be more specific?
No, neither of the rope climbs show up as your best thing. All 3 of the things that show up as the best are weightlifting movements.
Okay, strict press?
Think more generally.
Or like shoulder to overhead?
It doesn't show up there. All right, I think I'm just going to tell you at this point.
No, okay, clean and jerk.
So,
bench
sled push.
Sled push, okay. That's ironic.
On that.
Odd object carries.
Okay.
And overhead squats.
That's hilarious because that's not how I would describe myself.
So that's it. Do you want to take it?
Those are all workouts. Those are all, especially the odd objects. Those are stuff that this year you and Justin like specifically trained for. You may not have liked
but I'm also thinking of like the workouts that I did well with those. So like the sled was like with legless rope climbs.
Sure.
The overhead squats were with other things for sure.
The semi,
Actually, they were with rope climbs.
So and one of the variables that I think affects these metrics, and I think it'll get better over time, is that some of the movements show up less frequently than others. So, snatch, for example, probably show up a lot compared to a sled push. And so if it just happens that a sled push has showed up 5 times and you've done well on it 4 times, but a snatch has showed up 20 times and you've done well on it 10 times, then the sled push, which will show heavier or better or whatever. On the flip side, do you want to take any more guesses?
On my worst movements?
Mm-hmm.
Running?
They are 2 gymnastics and 1 weightlifting.
Handstand push-ups?
Strict handstand push-ups specifically.
That's ironic because my strict is way better than my kipping.
Mm-hmm.
My kipping sucks.
But not that many kipping handstand push-up workouts that show up.
I know.
During that was the first one in a while. During your especially your career, it's been mostly strict versions of handstand push-up.
Yeah.
Okay, another gymnastics movement.
Think open.
Chest to bar?
Good, that's good.
Wall walks.
Okay, wall walks.
Wall walks, and then walking lunge is the other one that shows up.
Interesting.
It is. They are interesting. We're working on these, and
I could give you my what I think my best and worst things are.
Sure.
I'd say my things I'm working on would be. Oh, now I'm gonna have a brain fart. Snatches for sure. I'm not good at classic CrossFit. When things are light and simple, I'm not good at that.
Oh.
So there's 2, and then I'd say I'm okay at running, but I'm not where I want to be, so I'd put running there. And then for my best 3, I'd say rope climbs of any sort. Anything brute strength, so just raw, strict press, deadlift, squat, and then high skill gymnastics like muscle ups or deficit handstand push-ups, things like that.
When it comes to snatching, would you say that you're it's a top end strength of the snatch, or even cycling snatches is challenging for you?
Both. Yeah, I just feel as far as the top end stuff, it's a lot of technique. It's not a strength issue. It's just figuring out how to move the bar well, and we're working on that. We hired Will Fleming, an Olympic lifting coach, to help us with that. And as far as cycling, for me, it's learning how to be more efficient and kind of relax during it. And levers are not an excuse in any means, but I feel I'm just moving for so long. I'm all the way up here, all the way down there. I have really long femurs, and it takes forever to get to the ground.
Yeah.
I was doing a little bit of an analysis for a variety of different things for Rogue. And I know that not necessarily all of the heights of athletes that are listed are accurate. But of the girls that were there at Rogue, 1, 2, 3, 5 of them listed themselves at 5'4", 3 listed at 5'5", you and 2 others listed at 5'6", and 5 listed at 5'7". So basically, all but 4 of the athletes were within 4 inches of each other of their reported height, which is not that big of a spread, really. Pretty condensed range. Whereas on the men's side, there was a much bigger range. And some of that's just by a guy like Yellow Hoste being in the field compared to a guy like Noah Olson, but
totally.
But it seems like there is a little bit of a trend in the women's field over the last couple of years. I would say about an inch on average taller than it was maybe 5 years ago.
That makes sense. Yeah.
What I was trying to look for when I was doing that was if there was any kind of a correlate between 2 specific workouts, the circus and 10th inning. Because I had thought, well, the 10th inning, this is basically, it's so many reps where range of motion matters. So you're doing extra work in terms of distance to move a light weight or your body weight on every single one of those movements. And circus seemed to be very much, in my mind, trending towards a power output athlete that can cycle that got that bell pretty easily. And
I was so excited for that workout.
but then it turns out that workout was really impacted by something that wasn't intended to be impacted by, and so there was actually no real conclusion to be drawn. That's one of those workouts. That's one of those workouts where, like, I just hope they program the same thing next year. Kind of like alpaca, like, let's give the chance, like, and hopefully it's better weather and we can just like actually see the expression of what that could have looked like.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like the weather impacted Hulk hands that much. Like, I think the results would have been very similar either way, even though it was a lot worse weather.
I was so shocked we went out. Like, so it started raining the end of heat 1 for Hulk hands, and it got cold. Like, we were all like in the dugout, and it was like, it got super cold, and it started like pelting like as they finished. And I was like, surely they're going to tell us like there's a delay. And they're like, 1 minute, ladies. I was like, all right. I couldn't even see my monitor for the first like 30 seconds.
Well, and here's the thing. Now I remember I was actually on the desk for the premium show for the women's Hulk hand event that morning. And while that was happening, the first heat was leaving the floor and you guys were getting staged to come out there. The judges stayed out there. And they didn't have their rain gear on yet. They didn't have anything. And I'm just like, first of all, I'm like, wow, that is like pretty big like discipline on their hand. They just stood there at attention and waited and executed their job. And then I was thinking, aren't they supposed to have scorecards? There's no chance that they can have scorecards for this. I don't know how they even scored that event, but the judges pulled it off. The athletes pulled it off. And even though it was crazy, I mean, it was quite crazy, the rain while you guys were out there.
Yeah, it was wild.
I think the results would have been similar either way, but I do wish that I kind of hope that circus event gets brought back at some point so we can see.
Yeah, I mean, some athletes figured it out, and like kudos to them. They had the right gear and the right strategy to navigate the rain, and I did not.
And I mean, and look to the conversation we were having previously, like, those will go into your record, right? So that those movements will be entered in there, and it could potentially have those are the things that our studies on paper cannot account for. And so that's maybe why sometimes things don't necessarily show up how you might expect them to.
Totally.
Will you?
I have a question real quick.
Oh, okay.
I read one of your guys' like pre-Rogue articles.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to understand, you had like a type of athlete and it was like letters. It was like G. What do those mean?
MWG.
Like all of the different ones. Yeah. What do they mean?
So another study that we've been able to do and trying to do is looking for patterns in terms of athletes' performance over competitions. And we can kind of break those down into
three groups,
picks performance and patterns. Yeah, well, more than that. So basically, we can look at Alex for this one, and it's what we did was we listed her 5 best finishes of her career, and then we identified some things that she scores really well at, and then we said, and her best combination of implements is the GWW variety. So this means that when a workout shows up that has 1 gymnastics element and 2 weightlifting elements, that you do well in that style of workout more often than any other style of workout. So more often than if there's 1 gymnastic and 1 weightlifting, or just 1 weightlifting, or 3 weightlifting.
Okay,
or whatever.
That makes more sense. I just didn't know what the letters meant.
And it's kind of cool. Like you can look, Ariel Lowen's is just alphabetical. Her best style is gymnastics and monostructural in combination. So if you see a workout, and kind of we put this out here as we're still experimenting with how to best evaluate athletes against each other and throughout their careers. But also there are these, there's like a buddy of mine who has the Heat 1 app, which allows for you to play specific athletes for specific workouts. And so you might say, oh, Ariel Lowen's good when there's a gymnastics and monostructural. This workout has running and handstand walking in it. I think I'm going to pick her. Or the one that had handstand walking and box jump.
I like that. I think that's like simple. That's like easy to digest. That's
what we're hoping for, because at Rogue, for the most part, most of the athletes are well known, and you might already think that some of those or most of those athletes well. But at some of these other events, especially like a Wadapalooza, you might know half of the field well, and the other half of the field you might not necessarily know them as well. But there could be some athletes in there that are really good at certain things. And then
when I spectated for a couple of years, like I'll use Gabby Magala as an example. Like I can't remember if this was 2019 or 18. It was one of the 2 years, and I remember being like, "Who's that girl? Like she's really good. She just keeps like showing up. Like she's just like in the top 10. She's in the top 5." But like I had no idea who she was because like CrossFit's so limited and like who they show and like the exposure of athletes. So like it's interesting like coming from a spectator like background to being in it. Like it's some people might know who you are, but some people are like, yeah, I have no clue.
Yeah, so this is one of the ways that we're trying to educate more of the fans about more of the athletes. And that's one of the things I like about Heat One app. If you just want to do the top 10, you can pick your top 10, set it, and leave it for the competition and check back on Monday and see how you did. But if you want to kind of dive in a little bit more, understand kind of who's good at what things, he has the shot caller. So you could specifically play an athlete for 1 or 2 events over the course of the weekend. And, you know, I've always been trying to bring more attention to more athletes. So a little bit doing that here with these articles, but also supporting what he's doing because I think it has the same kind of a goal. And then, yeah, I mean, trying to project what's going to happen with the athletes. I feel like from a non-data perspective, I've kind of like tapped out on that. Like I can get a certain amount of picks right. And then I'm trying to see if I can look a little deeper and refine those picks a little bit more based on the data that we do have for you guys.
Yeah.
Are you going to be in Miami this year?
Mm-hmm.
Running it back
into your
with
team.
a similar team?
Oh, I wish. Carrie's retired for real now.
Except for Rogue. She still comes out to play at Rogue.
Yeah. No, I'm doing a team with Sarah and Caitlin Vanzio.
That is going to be a very fun weekend for you guys.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I was contemplating doing individual, but like after Rogue and like kind of having a few things I want to heal and like it's just so cool to be able to like have fun at a competition and be able to train through it. And I think if you do both or if you do individual, there's that pressure to like peak, deload after, like, so this will be just like a fun thing. And like those girls are competitive, so it'll be like Jake wants me to do individual.
Is this you or him?
This is him.
I think Jake should do individual. Jake should do
individual.
Yeah.
That would be so fun if Jake had done the qualifier and he was competing in one of the divisions and you got to cheer him on for 2 days and then you could do the team stuff.
Wait, yeah, honey, if you're listening, let's do that.
Kind of like Carrie did last year.
Train up.
Yeah, Carrie did that. Carrie did that with Mitch one year. Or no, not last year, but 2 years ago. Carrie was her coach or his coach while he was competing.
I think that would be so fun. I would love to be like Coach Pat for the weekend.
It reminds me of in the spring of 2020, before lockdowns all happened, there was going to be the West Coast Classic. And that competition, I can't remember who the third person, Patrick, you might remember, but Vellner's wife and Matt Fraser's wife and one other, I think it was Jazz. Yeah, Jazz Ritchie's.
Yes.
They were going to do a team, and then they were going to do the role reversal.
Yeah, they were training hard for that too. Like it was Jazz was like, I think she told me it was like the best shape she ever got in, and Sammy was just hitting up. She got back into CrossFit because she's been known to do a lot of Olympic lifting. So yeah, that would have been fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like Jake would go hard. Like he has like a really good like capacity to just like get mad and like hurt. Like he has like a competitor mindset. Whereas like I feel like I rely on just like my talent. Like I'm not like I don't get mad. I lack that. And it'd be fun to watch him if he trained for it. Hopefully
well,
do that.
the idea's out there now. He was watching us until at least 2 minutes ago. Now we don't know if he's watching.
He's like, bye.
Yeah, so I'm out. Peace.
All right. So last question from me, and then maybe if Patrick has anything from the audience or something like that. So you got 2 competitions coming up, but both as part of a team, FitFest, and then in Miami. Is in terms of, like you still have, I would imagine, some big picture goals in terms of CrossFit. I think you made a big headway towards them this season. How do you see kind of these team competitions fitting into more of the big picture for what you want to achieve as an individual in this sport?
FitFest is just a really cool opportunity. Like, I've never been to Europe, and you get
Oh,
to go
wow.
hang out. Yeah, you get to go hang out with athletes, and like they are paying for our travel, and like there's just really no reason to say no. Like, it's a memory like that I'll get to look back on and enjoy. And it's probably not ideal for training and big picture goals, but I think for me, like, I don't have a timeline on my goals. Like, if it happens in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, like, cool. It might not even happen, like, you don't know what the cards, like, hold, but I think that's kind of, like, the part of, like, being happy and, like, keeping life fun. Because you could pull a Matt Frazier and, like, be in your garage alone for 365 days a year, but that doesn't sound like that's just not sustainable for me. So, honestly, it probably doesn't really help towards my goals, but I think it's, like, it helps in the sense of it's fun memories. And Wadapalooza, like, the girls, obviously, like, they train with Underdogs, like, they're under Justin, and they're really good athletes, and like, they'll be really good push. Caitlin's a freak engine, and Sarah, like, people I think have kind of like brushed her under the rug a little bit, but like now that she's feeling healthy and she's like training, like, I think we'll do better than people will probably think.
Yeah, well, I don't think it necessarily has to detract from your big picture goals. I mean, I think what
Yeah.
you said there about like having fun, realizing what's appropriate for you in terms of a work-life balance, those things are important. Like, you don't want to reach burnout. And so I think that by all means, having kind of those fun things with other people, you'll probably learn some stuff that you don't expect to learn about just a approach to a competition or how to deal with an adversity or something. There's always learning opportunities, even at the team competitions.
Totally.
And yes, Sarah Sigmund's daughter. Not this upcoming week, but the week after, I'll put out my top 200 women in the world. Sarah will be on the list. And I have been having a little bit of internal debate about what to exactly do with her, but I think that's good, and she'll have some opportunities this year to hopefully come out and people are going to love her everywhere she goes and maybe show us some of the magic that we know she has.
Yeah, I think she has it. I think she's just kind of, it's her story to tell. And I think she just like, no one knows behind the scenes of what anyone goes through. And I think she's kind of received a lot of just like, oh, she's done. Like, she's not going to be where she was. But I think a healthy and happy Sarah is a dangerous Sarah. And I think like, I don't think she's done yet.
PC, any questions while we've been talking for the last hour that you want to ask Alex before we let her go?
So we're going to put this on the record.
All right, hold on. Screenshot.
Screenshot that. Yep, screenshot that.
All right, I got it.
You got it? You got it.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then Jake also says, show him the fridge, babe. So.
Oh, I have some goals on the fridge that I'll walk over there. Oh, goodness.
Oh,
that was the biggest smile you've had on the show yet. Then you saw that he was going to do it next year.
Yeah, that'll be fun for me. I get to yell at him now. Let's see. Can I flip my camera around? Is that a thing?
I always struggle with that too.
Yeah.
I had some goals that I wrote like last year on the fridge, but anyway, he wants me to show you guys. So.
Hey, there's a check next to one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an old check, but I'm gonna leave it there because it's kind of fun to see where you've gone.
That's really cool, and you get to see those every day.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, thank you guys. I probably have like 2 more minutes and then I got to jet out. So if you have anything else, Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah. Chelsea Miller, how's the wrist doing?
It was good until they changed Big Cat to the handstand walks, and that hurt really bad. But like, now that like I don't have to peak for anything, I can avoid handstand walking. I can avoid things that are going to do it more damage, and it could be worse. So I'm thankful for where it's at.
Okay. And then the last thing is, while we were at, I met up with you at Rogue, before Rogue at where was it? It was at Bethany's fundraiser, and you autographed some cards for us. And if you go to our main site on there, if you click on the win an Alex Gazan limited edition autograph card, it'll take you to this window here, and do that. it's basically to enter a contest. And Alex autographed 7 of these cards for us. Actually 8. I kept 1. So, but he autographed 8 of these. So all you to get one some, and I put them in these nice cases. To win one of these Alex Gazan autograph cards, yeah, you just have to register for our limited edition, our newsletter, by clicking on the site. So, Alex, I just want to say thanks for doing that, and yeah, me and Brian will probably be out to Vegas soon, so can't wait to see you and
come
hang
play
out.
Catan.
We definitely have to
Brian
get
needs
a
to show
Catan game going.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, thanks again so much, Alex, and we'll chat soon, and we'll love to get you on. There's so many questions that we have.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, anytime.
So enjoy the rest of your training day.
Thank you, guys.
All right, see you, Alex.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was great.
Yeah. Well, this is for you, Brian.
Oh my goodness. You know, George, I actually was going to go to that concert. I tried to go. I asked J.R. Hall if he wanted to go. He told me no. I asked Jason Hopper if he wanted to go. He told me, who's that? And then I just got discouraged. But with more notice, I probably would have done this. I am flying to Phoenix tomorrow. Oh, man. That's tough. Thank you, George. God, wow, man, I'm actually considering it. I have to coach tonight at the gym, though, so no go. But have a great time if you're going. All right. Daniel Theissen. Did I pronounce that right?
It's Theissen. It's a silent H.
Daniel Theissen.
Yeah. Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Okay. So,
fine.
Patrick kind of mentioned this, I think, recently, that we were going to have someone coming on here. This is a guy, Dan. He's at Radix Gym. That's the Instagram where you can follow him. I have been reposting 1 or 2 of his things recently. And you see his organization down there as well, thedreamdealer.org. Dan reached out to us, I don't know, a month or 2 ago. I think I was in Europe maybe at the time. I was a little slow getting back to him, but he's been super patient with me. And he has an event coming up in January that I'm going to let him tell you guys about. And just as it's going to have to do with some stuff going on in Haiti. I have a little bit of a connection with Haiti because during 2011 through 13 time period, I was living in the Dominican Republic, which is on the island of Hispaniola, and half of the island, or more or less, is the Dominican Republic. The other half is Haiti. I didn't ever really go to Haiti, but every week we would take volunteers to, there's 2 formal crossings between those 2 countries. One is in the south. We were living in the north, and the north was at a place called Dajabon. And there's a market that would open there on Friday mornings. And it was basically for Haitians to come across to a market. It was like it's kind of like Washington, D.C. It's not a state. It's like its own entity, this market that existed, like straddling the 2 countries. And they would come across for the better part of like 6 hours in the morning there and just buy things and bring them back across, or sell things. And it was like an exchange of goods between the 2. So I spent a decent amount of time in that market, which was quite an experience. And at the Learning Center, where I was the director of during that time, we had some Haitian students there. The town that I lived in had some salt fields, salt mines, and a lot of the Haitians worked in the salt flats. And their kids would come to the Learning Center. And it was really interesting dynamic to observe. A lot of the Dominican kids are just kind of brought up to be racist towards the Haitian students, even to the point of not necessarily wanting to call them by their name, but just to call them Haitian. And so overcoming some of those kind of, social and cultural differences, learning about them, learning how to interact with them, and it's like, these are not the kids' faults. These are what they're being taught. And it's got some deep history. So when he kind of reached out to me with this, it hit home for me a little bit in that regard. I haven't been back to Hispaniola since I left there. I would like to get back to it. But Dan, why don't you tell us what you got going on, and so people can kind of learn about it.
Yeah. So in 2010, there was a major earthquake that happened in Haiti. That was the first time that my brother and I were exposed to, what can happen in those type of countries when something so drastic happens. And my brother, he's such a good soul. So he just felt like God told him that he needs to go there and do something. So we lived together at the time, and he literally just got a hold of who he could get a hold of down there, and booked a plane ticket and went down there and just started helping rebuild orphanages and doing anything he could. And it changed him as a human being. Like, he was my best friend and the closest person to me. And I was so scared the whole time he was gone down there, because it's the stories. Even when he got there, some guys tried to get him to get in the car, and then people were telling him, like, if you end up in that car with those guys, they're going to kill you or hold you for ransom, stuff like that. So the whole time he was gone, I just had this like crazy feeling of anxiety, like I was going to lose my best friend or something along those lines. But he came back and he was changed, completely changed. And I remember the look he gave me when he said that I have to do something. I need to help these kids. Like, it's so bad what they're going through. They have nowhere to live. They don't have food. There's definitely no, schooling or future. There is just no hope at all. And so my brother's a little bit crazy, but he just started selling his stuff. Anything he had, he just started selling, and he was sending the money down there. And then we had a conversation, like, we can do something more. We can, start something that can build into something really bright in the future. And so we started the Dream Dealer, and he put so much of his own money and time and effort into building what is happening down there now. And we now take care of 100 orphans down there. We provide food, shelter, clothing, schooling. There's a school down there that we now have that allows them to go to school without having to pay for it, because otherwise they'd have to pay. They can't afford to really do anything. And so just making a huge difference in the community outside of Port-au-Prince, where they called it the tent cities, where all these tents were set up where people were living because there was no infrastructure. So over the years, we've just continued to develop that. There's a bakery now that we're starting to build, and they're having the ability to make their own food and bread and feed the children on a daily basis. And it's amazing to see, but it's obviously not cheap to continue to do that. So he runs a charity golf tournament every year. Sometimes we just send money out of our own pockets or from our businesses just to keep things on the move. We have a head teacher down there who teaches the kids. His name is Vlad, and we keep them going. But we had a conversation a little bit earlier this year, and I was like, we can do something more. And I just felt like I needed to do something a little bit more different to raise some awareness and to raise some money. So I just put it out to my members, and I said, listen, I'll get on the Echo Bike, and I'll Echo Bike 1 calorie for every $1 you guys donate. And I'll do it over 12 hours. And so the money, people started donating. I don't know if it was as much out of like they wanted to help as much as they wanted to see me suffer for all the years of programming I've done in that gym. But either way, I was happy to take whatever they were willing to donate. And so now we're over $5,000 raised, and there's still money coming in. And we did these hope shirts with the Haitian flag on the heart, and people are buying those. And so on January 20th, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'm going to ride the Echo Bike. The goal is $7,000, so it's 7,000 calories. I've done all the math on exactly what that means as far as how many calories per hour and what pace I need to hold. And I've been training like a ultra endurance cyclist pretty much. I took a lot of the programming I put together myself from bits and pieces of ultra endurance cyclists. We're looking at about 400 kilometers on the Echo Bike, 7,000 calories at an average pace of about 58 RPM, which is a serious endeavor. I've lost 10 pounds and probably a lot of that muscle over the last.
You're following the Rich Froning model there.
Yeah, exactly. People ask like, how can I lose 5 pounds quick? Oh, I got this Echo Bike. You just hop on. You just don't stop. You keep moving.
Come back tomorrow and do it again.
Yeah, and do it again. So right now I'm currently I have like a 4-day training split on the bike itself, and there's 2 hard interval days and 2 longer days. And I go on a 3-week cycle where I bring volume up for 3 weeks, and then I bring it down, and then I start on week 2 and I bring it up and down, and as I work towards January. So I am taking the ride itself very seriously. I've from nutrition to how I'm programming it and everything. It's exposed a lot that happens in my head, being on that bike for that many hours at a time with not much to do except for explore your own mind and listen to music or podcasts. But it's been an incredible experience, and people donating and reaching out, and my members are just such awesome people. It's just really cool to see the support. I'd be lying if I told you I'm not afraid of this ride, but it's it's gonna be
What's
an
the
interesting 12 hours.
what's the longest ride that you'll do before that day?
6 hours. Yeah.
6 hours.
I'll work out,
about
yeah,
half.
about half. Yeah. Right now, last week I did a 3. This week I'll do a 4. I'm doing them on the Saturdays and kind of mimicking the game day kind of thing where I'm starting at 6 a.m. I'm focused. Like I have when I want to wake up, what I want to eat beforehand, all those things, because the more you read about these ultra endurance events, the more it's like, this is like serious. It's not a joke, So people have died from consuming too much water and not enough salt, and there's especially
that
at
was
the
kind
pace.
of the next question is like, how close do you feel that you are to dialing in the nutrition for that day?
Pretty close. 3 hours is you could hop on if you really wanted to. You could hop on and get 3 hours done out of sheer will. But I've been trying out different gels, different bars, different solid foods, different powders, and then I use the LMNT electrolytes. And
You and Dave
I'm
Castro both.
Oh, is he using those too?
He did one of the events that he does. He talked about on his weekend review is a 36-hour event. He fasted for the entire thing, but he was taking some LMNT supplement.
Yeah. I like the ratio. It gives you a lot of salt, which is good because I'm sweating quite a bit. So yeah, you can take in about 60 grams of carbs per hour and absorb it and use it. And then if you have a combination of glucose and fructose, then you can actually get your body taking up to 90 grams of carbs for that hour period. So I'm just kind of training my body to use it, absorb it, and not get any GI stress from it, because that's the other scary part when you hear ultra endurance runners, bikers talk about when that GI stress hits and you got to go. So we'll have a bathroom close by in the gym, and we'll set up the bike so that I have a laneway to make my way there if that's needed. It's a little bit
12
of
hours.
12 hours.
So we saw Audrey there. She's in the comments there. She works at a CrossFit gym somewhere in the Midwest, Kentucky, I think. And if there was someone that wanted to reach out to you to either support, get involved, maybe do an event at their gym in conjunction with what you're doing, what would be the best course for someone like that to take?
Yeah, they could email me at hello@radixgym.com.
hello@radixgym.com.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I would love that. I have a good friend of mine owns a gym out in Victoria, BC, a CrossFit gym, and he's going to be riding along, not quite at the pace, but definitely riding along with me. So anything like that, just to raise awareness and tag the Dream Dealer on Instagram and just push that out there would be incredible. I love to hear it. And it's just thinking of what it's going to bring. Vindicate. Yeah. 1 hour is like a nice little warm up now.
Crazy how the perspective changes,
Oh, so I programmed 200 calories for time today for my gym because I wanted them to kind of feel a bit. And I threw in a little mix, like every 2 minutes I had to do 40 double unders. And the amount of complaining that I was hearing about 200 calories, and I had to stop the whole gym at 6 a.m. I'm like, listen, guys, if I have to hear one more person, give me any heck about doing 200 calories this morning, that's it. I'm taking your membership back. This is the first 20 minutes on the bike. This is not a big deal.
It's a buy-in.
So it's a buy-in. It's just, you got to, honestly, once you're past that 30-minute mark, and it's kind of like if you run a marathon or something like that, and you hit that bit of a runner, that cadence, and then that's when it's just kind of starting for you. And
Mm-hmm.
the longer I go, the more that it's like, okay, well, the first hour is just I'm just getting into it. Making sure I had enough carbs, my electrolytes are good, I'm feeling good. So, I love this. Thank you, Audrey. Yes, I love doing crazy stuff.
So yeah, Audrey or anyone else who's listening, if you want to get involved in some way, you can find Dan on Instagram. You can also email him, hello@radixgym.com, radixgym.com. So please reach out if that's something you want to do. And then
I put your email in the comments, Dan.
Oh, awesome.
Dan, I put your email in the comment. And if you go to the description of this video, I have all the information. So if anyone has any questions regarding how to donate or where to find or get a hold of Dan, please look in the comments, not comments, but the info section in the description above.
Yeah, thank you.
And Dan, is 7,000 calories the limit?
I think that's what I'm physically capable of. I'm a decent, I'm decent on the Echo bike. I've done, I don't know if you've ever tried a FTP test, like a functional threshold power test. I'm good on the bike, but I'd say I'm more suited for like sprints over the endurance type of stuff. So, yeah, Vindicate, I did. So down the street from me is our local cycle path, and I went in there and I talked to some guys about different gels and stuff they had, and he recommended this endurance seat that they had, and it's for like a 45-degree stance on the bike, more than a bent over stance that you would be in if you're doing like that kind of stuff. So I've switched the seat out. It actually is not, it's a little bit more firm than the actual Echo bike original seat, but over a long period of time it feels better, because your butt kind of, on the original seat, your butt kind of like smushes in, and then all you feel is steel on your sit bones, and that is not pleasant at all.
Maybe it wasn't maybe they didn't make that bike thinking people would do 7,000 consecutive calories.
Yeah, definitely not designed for that. And I got bike pants too, to get the nice little pad on the butt, so it kind of conforms on the butt. And then I got the chafe cream. Like, I'm a full out biker now. I just use my arms.
You got to do that stuff. Those are the...
Yeah, I might just go carbs off at that point.
But those are the details that if you don't account for them, it can really throw a wrench into the plans.
100%. I told somebody the other day that after my 3-hour ride, the thing that was bothering me the most was actually my triceps. And it's like you're just not used to doing these kind of motions for long periods of times. Like your legs are more, suited for that long endurance type of stuff. Your arms don't typically get that type of volume. So I just started to think about that as well, and I'm thinking about maybe adding some days where I just ride with my arms for periods of time, just to build up a little more endurance on the muscular side of things there. But it's so fun to see what the body is capable of and how your mind responds to these type of challenges.
If the fundraiser exceeds $7,000, who are you recruiting to do the additional calories?
So I have a couple, like I would say, narcissistic members who I think are just waiting. They're waiting in behind the whiteboard where all the donations have been, and I think they just want to see me fail. So I'm thinking they're just waiting to make some bigger donations so that I can actually get the 7,000 in. But my brother, I told him, I'm like, listen, I know, he owns a landscape company and he works all day long, so he's not in bad shape or anything. But if he has to pick up the slack on another 3,000 calories, then he's just gonna have to get on another bike and give the people what they want.
Well, let's if you want to support what these guys got going on, and you want to see Dan's brother hit the Echo bike as well, you know where to go.
Yeah, I'd love to see him on there with me. I noticed that when people do grab a bike and hop on beside me for a half an hour or an hour on a Saturday, it makes my riding a lot better. I feel better knowing somebody else is kind of feeling what I'm feeling, and You know,
dude, you should just do that for the day. Just make like a ride with Dan, and it's like every 30 minutes, have someone sign up for it. 2 people sign up for it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We've seen that done with like people that do 24-hour MRFs, where they sign in and like people just kind of like they just pace along and give you someone to just enjoy it with. And also, you know, I think it's pretty cool. Or you can even be like, hey, you know, if you sign up, it costs you $5 to spend an hour with me or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I like that idea. We're planning on have like a full day of events here too, and we're gonna have some stations set up where people can like try to PR their 2K row time or their 2K ski time, and just make a donation, and then we're gonna call them uncomfortable stations, where people can do something that puts them in a spot of, you know, pain for however long and make a donation. And you know, it's going to get monotonous watching me do the same thing for 12 hours straight. So if we can have some other people and some fun going on, and you know, it will make the day a lot better that way. But I just hope, I told people, like, show up for the last 2 hours, please. Like, that's when I'll need you the most. The first 2 hours is cool. I can do the first 2 hours in the gym in the cold at 6 a.m. No problem. It's just going to be the last couple that are going to hurt.
Dan, anything else that you want people to know about what you guys got going on before we let you go?
No, just anybody who donates, thank you so much. It means the world to us and those kids. You just, if you ever go there, if you ever see what they go through, it's not, no child should have to deal with that kind of stuff. And any type of support or relief that we can provide, and just an opportunity to live somewhat of a normal life, or to get an education and eventually get out of there, it means more than you will ever know or think. So I just want to thank anybody who does want to support it right now. I thank you very much. And Brian, thank you. You were like the first person to like reach back to me and even apologize that it took you a little while, but it really means a lot for you to have, you know, to have me on here. I'm a big fan. I listen to like all your stuff. This is really cool.
But I wasn't the only one. I think that for those of you that are connected in the CrossFit space, you'll see Dan again pretty soon.
Yes, we will. Yeah. Next week, Thursday.
Yes. So anyway, Dan, thank you so much, man. It's awesome what you guys are doing. Keep tagging us. For those of you that aren't or are interested, you know, support them, follow them online, see what he's got going on. And January 20th is a big day. So you know, we'll kind of keep up with you. We'll be at some competitions during that time of year, but we'll kind of keep tabs on what you're doing as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Brian and Patrick. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
No problem.
See you around.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for Dan, obviously, for coming on, Patrick, for making that happen. And yeah, hopefully some of you guys take a look at what he's got going on, what him and his brother have been up to there. It's a big passion of theirs. It doesn't have to be for you, but if it is, check it out. And, you know how to get in touch with him. PC, what else?
I don't know. You're going on with Savon here in a couple hours, aren't you?
Yeah, like an hour and 45 minutes, I think. Savon, I think maybe JR and Bill will join us a little bit. And
is there anything else you want to talk? Oh, go ahead.
No, we're gonna take a look at some of the stuff that CrossFit announced today from a little bit different perspective, from the affiliate side, from a competitor side. We had this, you know, planned with Alex today. We're grateful that she took the time to talk to us about kind of from her perspective, but that wasn't really meant to be the focus of this show. But I do think that there's some good kind of things to keep in mind with regards to some of the things that were announced today that we can explore in a little bit more detail with Savon and those guys. So I'm going to go over there in, like I said, an hour, 45 minutes from now. And in the meantime, I'll go continue watching what Adrian Bosman and Chase Ingram talked about with regards to that. You know, but if you guys missed the first part of the show, there were some announcements today. We've got an article up. Barbell Spin's got some stuff out. I'm sure other platforms do as well. And then, as I mentioned, Chase Ingram had Adrian Bosman on, or they, recorded an episode addressing this stuff a couple of days ago that they published a couple hours ago. So you can get kind of the lay of the land from Adrian Bosman himself, who is obviously integrally involved with the decisions and the announcement that happened today.
Yeah. So head on over to Be Friendly. You can read Brian's basically his first thoughts on what was announced. Some really informative stuff in there. Some stuff that me and Brian were talking about prior to the show, prior to the release. Our Instagram is kind of just like just a general overview, just more of the facts, whereas this is more in depth in his thoughts and just going a little bit more depth on the announcement and what was released. So, yeah,
yep. And if you
so I don't know, only 2 views,
probably
what
me and you,
people, probably. Additionally, like I said before, if you go to the homepage on BeFriendlyFitness.com, you'll notice this. If you scroll to the bottom, well, right below the headlines, when an Alex Gazan limited edition autograph card, click on that. It'll take you to this splash page, and you can win one of 7 limited edition Alex Gazan autograph card. And all you do is just subscribe to our weekly newsletter. It's not daily, and we'll start having some cool stuff in that newsletter. Right now, it's just kind of like a weekly recap, and and some other things. My apologies on coughing. Yeah, head on over. It's a good way to support us again. I know people constantly ask us how they can support us, and just doing stuff like this is that it means the world to us. So just head on over, register. You can always unsubscribe, but right now it'd mean a lot for us if you subscribe to the newsletter, and 70 you'll walk away with this pretty cool card. If you notice, she puts a little heart in there.
Little signature from Alex. Yeah. So thank you guys for sticking around. I'll be hitting the road tomorrow, going to Phoenix for the Desert City Classic. Be bringing you as a little bit of coverage from there during the weekend. Next weekend, be in Charlotte for the Charlotte Classic. And next week, we'll put out the top 200 men in the world. So those are just some of the stuff coming up for us.
Yeah, we'll have a special guest for the top 200. Your foil, as you want to call him. Mm-hmm. And then we'll try to. I'm working on getting us probably for Wednesday or Thursday a special guest of some sort. So that way, let us know if you like this format where we kind of review kind of what's going on in the CrossFit space earlier part of the week, and then follow it up with the interview with an athlete or person within the community. So let us know what you think, how we can improve on that. We want to get you guys the right content out there and have fun while we're doing it. So
all right,
that's all I have, Brian. So everyone, thanks for tuning in, and again, yeah, appreciate it. And Brian, unless you have anything else to say, nothing. All right. Be friendly, our friends.